that's enough, Hosier. I need to rant about Shadow and Bone. Adios, soldiers. Man, I wanted to do this whole, like, black and gold, Shadow and Bone, Darkling, Sun Summoner thing, but I just look like if the Darkling was a lesbian fuckboy. Which, like, hey, is that what my type is? Oh no! Today's video is gonna be something a little bit different because instead of a book review today, we are going to be reviewing season 2 of the Shadow and Bone Netflix TV show. I did this a few years ago when season 1 came out, but I feel like my style of video and my style of editing have changed a bit, and I don't want to focus so much on like what they changed and what they didn't. We will talk a little bit about what is book accurate versus what is not, but for the most part, I just want to get my feelings out. I'm gonna keep this video review quite neutral for the first couple minutes, just to kind of go over general thoughts and feelings, but then I will put up a spoiler warning for when I do actually start to spoil season 2. And then, at the end, I want to get into some of my crackpot Six of Crows conspiracy theories, because I have them. If you have not watched season 1, I'm not really sure why you're here. This video will contain spoilers for every book that I have, which is the full Shadow and Bone trilogy, the Six of Crows duology, and the King of Scars duology. This is gonna be unfiltered and unscripted, other than the fact that I have just notes from my notes app that I also finished writing at about 1:30 in the morning last night when I finished the TV series. Oh, and also full disclosure, I did not reread any of the books before watching season 2, so I don't, have I ever reread Ruin and Rising? I don't think I have. So, for the most part in the series, I was just looking at it being like, that sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, that seems legit. I'm sure that's what happened in the books. If at any point you feel like you need to yell at me and say, Rachel, you dumb bitch, that's not what happened at all in the book. And actually that's fully made up. That's fine, because I was also yelling at some characters on screen because some people were making some choices. I have seen some very strong opinions over the ending of this series. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and settle in while we discuss the entirety of season 2, Shadow and Bone. So to start off with, Leigh Bardugo herself said to think of the second season more as fan fiction than straight true to the books. The teaser trailers looked incredible, but then when I heard her say it's like fan fiction, I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen? But actually, I think this worked out quite nicely. Season 1 was a combination of the first Shadow and Bone book and Six of Crows. And while they didn't have the same Six of Crows plotline, for the most part, with a couple of additions, it was pretty much the same Shadow and Bone plotline. So the second season I thought was going to be Siege and Storm and maybe some more of the Crows. But instead, the second season was everything else. So we had a combination of Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising, Crooked Kingdom, which was interesting that we did Crooked Kingdom before we did Six of Crows, but okay. And we get the setup for the King of Scars duology. So they did a lot in this season. And I'm terrible with actor names, so I'm just gonna refer to people as their characters. Alina and her smile, General Kerrigan and his face, Wylan with his big doe eyes, Nina and her smirk, Kaz and his eyebrows, Nikolai with all of him? How is everybody so attractive? This is a crime. These are criminals. Oh my god, it's been like 10 seconds into this video and I'm already being too horny on main. So even though everybody is incredibly attractive and I had a wonderful time watching it, I didn't quite like this season as much as I liked the first one. Just like the first season, gorgeous costuming, beautiful scenery, really nice cinematic shots, incredible casting for all our new characters. Oh my god. And once again, merch companies. Listen up here, okay? Ready? I want a Kefka, I want Kaz's Crow-Cane, and I want the Lancelot Emerald. I know this is a YA book adaptation, and the general audience of this TV show, I'm assuming, is like 14 to 18, so I get that it's leaning into the YA stereotypes, but this script was so juvenile. Especially Jessie May Lee, who plays Alina. That's right, I know IMDb. And even Ben Barnes, who is the Darkling, very over-the-top high school theater acting. And there are other characters like Archie Renault, who plays Mal. He had those overly dramatic lines and, crying. But the way that he acted sold me on it. Whereas Alina, she just felt a little bit too much the personification of this emoji, and all she freaking does is go on about, where's Mal? Oh no, Mal, where's Mal? I must be with Mal. Like, girl, priorities? Like, wait, what if he's in the bathroom? Like, relax. Literally, there were moments where I wondered if this season even passed the Bechdel test, because she will go up to other women and be like, have you seen Mal? And I'm like, girl, bitch, like, get a grip. And it was also super annoying that literally everybody in this series was throwing themselves at Alina and at later Nikolai and just going off over like, I will sacrifice myself for you. No, please, here, take whatever is on my back. Take my money, take whatever. You're the best. You're the sun summoner. And I'm like, okay, I get it. She's a saint, he's a prince. But at the same time, like, it was just a lot. Everybody was very dramatic, but like, can't say I don't relate. So even though I didn't love the script, I still did have a good time. And like, there were actually some quite good one-liners. And Mal in particular has like a couple of really good monologues. The Darkling had like a couple that I was like, okay, bitch, okay, I see you. So in the first season, we had the Darkling's famous, fine, make me your villain. And so we have another great Darkling quote in this season, as well as a quite infamous quote between Kaz and Inej. So multiple times I was just sitting on my couch yelling, they said the thing! Also, Bagra. I love how she has a no bullshit attitude. I love her so much. This season had a lot of themes of violation and sacrifice, which I didn't think was overly done, but it definitely was in your face about it, showing how Nikolai and the Darkling are the foil to one another, where they both want to unite Ravka, but Nikolai wants to do it with love and acceptance, and he's doing it very selflessly, whereas the Darkling is doing it through fear, and he's doing it very selfishly. But it did also have really good themes of friendship and support system dynamics, so I did appreciate that. I saw a lot of people on Twitter being very mad about the final episode, so when I went into it, I was on high alert. Do you think the pacing of the final couple episodes was really weird? They throw literally every plotline cliffhanger they possibly could into those last 10 minutes. And like, I get it, they want a season 3, and I respect it. Maybe unpopular opinion, but I think the showrunners did a really good job mixing all of those plot lines together in a way that did make sense. The crows were a little out of place in this season because the plotline of Crooked Kingdom has nothing to do with the plotline of the Shadow and Bone series, so they did kind of come and go in like weird times, but we get a cool story out of it, so I guess that's okay. It also sets up the Six of Crows spin-off series that has been in the works. I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but it's definitely like floating around out there. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very book accurate while also allowing space for the creators to kind of play within the world and play within the timelines. And so with that concludes the non-spoilery section of this discussion. So if you have not watched the season 2 of Shadow and Bone on Netflix, go do that and then come back and we can yell together, okay? I'm gonna give y'all 3 seconds to leave, so I'll see you later, okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's get spoilery. Firstly, I want to go over some of the best scenes, in my opinion. Number 1 is the scene that people are referring to as Dirty Hands, which is the takedown of Pekka Rollins. Basically the entire Crooked Kingdom plotline, which is kind of weird that we got the Crooked Kingdom plotline before we got the Ice Palace, but like that's for later. I freaking replayed the Dirty Hands scene multiple times because, oh my god, Freddie Carter and his freaking eyebrows are just so good at acting. The way that he goes from this ruthless, unhinged, focused villain character while he's taking down Pekka Rollins inside his own establishment. Like the way that eventually he like reveals everything and then Pekka's like, please, like, I'm begging you. And he goes, are you? I was like, oh shit! Going from that to having a breakdown panic attack in the street was so... I love seeing him play Kaz's character. I love that we got more of Kaz's backstory in this. I think it was well deserved. But that being said, something that was weird about that was we never got the payoff line of Kaz revealing that the burying of Albie was all a trick. The TV show, you see Albie coming out and Pekka realizing that like Kaz lied to him and he was never in danger. But I think that would have been a bigger payoff in the series, knowing that the characters knew that Kaz was not that ruthless. Literally after Wyland and Jesper go to the country house and they come back and Kaz asks about the boy, Wyland says to him, like, I will not help you hurt him. Like, the characters know that Kaz is gonna do something bad to this kid. And then even during the Dirty Hand scene, Nina and Jesper are at the bar, like, watching, like, holy shit, what the fuck did Kaz just do? But Kaz never, like, tells them or, like, reveals that that was all fake. I guess we can kind of assume that they knew, because Inej, like, delivered the note to the driver, because the audience has seen how vicious Kaz can be, and through the other crows have realized, like, how unfeeling he can be, and it's all about profit, and it's all about money. I think it would have been more impactful to see the characters themselves realize that Kaz was not going to harm an innocent child. And because we also got to see the flashback of when Jordy made the deal with Pekka Rollins, and how Kaz is playing with his daughter. They're playing a game and he realizes it's a trick, and she says, well, of course it's a trick, otherwise it wouldn't be fun. I feel like that could have been a really good mirror moment of, like, talking about, like, you know, not harming a child, be like, oh, of course it's a trick, it wouldn't be fun otherwise. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that could have been a more impactful moment. Another one of my favorite scenes is literally like 15 seconds long, and I laughed so hard, is when Jesper and Wyland, like, wake up in bed together, and Wyland's like, oh, I don't want to go downstairs for breakfast just yet, and they're like, oh, okay, like, oh, you cute, and then Kaz knocks on the door, and Jesper just goes, no! But I mean, overall, like, any scene with Kit Young is just, he's you know what I mean. Also, I need to yell about Wyland. My sweet baby cinnamon roll boy is here, and I love him so much. This actor and his giant fey eyes are... oh my god, I love him so much. Also, the chapel scene with Kaz and Inej in the final episode, and we get the famous line of, like, I want you to stay, and I will have you without armor, was just... the tension. I don't know how those actors freaking do it, but Amina Suman and Freddie Carter are a phenomenal duo. I got to that scene at about 1 a.m, and I'm pretty sure I woke my neighbors up because I literally screeched out loud. Another one of my favorite scenes is literally any time that Tolya and Tamar show up. They're so awesome. Those actors, hold on. Tolya is played by Louis Tan, and Tamar is played by Anna Long Brophy. When I say immaculate, I mean it. Also, hashtag let Tolya recite his poetry 2024. Like, Kaz is the only person who understands art. And since my favorite color is morally gray, I am an absolute Darklina stan. Is the relationship good? No. Do I still love the tension and inner turmoil? Yes. But I didn't really like the Darkling in this season. I just didn't. I don't know if Ben Barnes was, like, phoning it in, or if because he's, like, 40, he's just tired of playing characters in YA adaptations, or if the script, like, was just that bad. But he just felt so spoiled rich boy whiny without the backing of the traumatic past and, like, the need and the want to connect people. Like, I think that's what was missing. So the driving factor of why he's bringing all the Grisha together to destroy the Royal Empire, aka that he wants Grisha to be recognized as more powerful and, like, you know, be able to live freely, it just didn't hit because he's doing it in, like, a high school clique way and not, like, a cool fantasy villain warfare way. So the only scene between Alina and the Darkling that I really liked was in Morozova's workshop, because I love a magical workshop, and an abandoned ancient magical workshop? Slay. A lot happened in this scene in this episode, but we get the famous Darkling line, I will strip away all that you know, all that you love, until you have no shelter but mine. And that was another moment where I'm like, he said the thing! Moving on, I wanted to mention some funny, consistent inconsistencies that I noticed by binge watching this entire thing in 2 days. First thing that kind of threw me off was, I can't tell what time period this is supposed to be set in. And, like, I get that it's, like, vaguely Imperial Russia, but some of the costumes were just very strange. Like, to flex my budding historical fashion skills, the Crows' suits are, like, vaguely late 1800s, but then Nina is dressed super differently. She's dressed in like second bustle era, which is like 1870s, 1880s, but then also like a little bit like a mantua, and a mantua dress is from like the 1700s. That's a full 100 years in consistency. Inej is like leather leggings and like a chiffon shirt, so I don't know, like 2000? That's a weird costume for her. And then some of the Lanslav army costumes are like kind of 40s with the shoulder shape. Kept throwing me off, so I'm like, where are we? Also, something funny is that in the episode where Nina joins the Crows and they're in the cafe and they're talking about how we have to break into, you know, the building across the street, she goes and gets a waffle. And that is the saddest ass grocery store frozen aisle waffle that I have ever seen in my life. I need y'all to sell me the fantasy, okay? I need those like thick, fluffy, buttermilk Waffle House type of waffles. Not this like 12-pack of frozen Eggos bullshit, okay? That was what really threw me out of that episode. Also, some of the Crows' humor was way too forced, like Jesper being like, oh, I think you just did that for dramatic effect, or actually at the end when he's like, oh, we should like write a book about our adventures. I was like, okay, like some scriptwriter got a little too heavy-handed. That being said, Inej's disappearing trick never gets old. Every time they like pan away for a second, they come back and everyone's like, what the fuck did she go? It's always funny. Speaking of camera pans, one of my friends pointed this out to me, that they do a lot of creative camera work. But one thing that they do is that if there's two characters talking and this character like just suddenly goes out of frame and the camera kind of pans to focus on just one character, something will happen to that character. Like at one point, like Mal's talking to someone and then they like turn away and then he turns around and someone like smashes him over the head. That person is not just like gone. They would be like 2 feet away. Also, something that I noticed, again, from watching all these episodes at once, is what's the prison that Matthias is in? I'm just gonna say Alcatraz. Every single time that they show Alcatraz, it's the exact same panning shot at night under the full moon. So it makes me laugh to think that like this prison is just stuck only at nighttime. And at the emotional core of this, we do have Alina and Mal getting it on, and you know, honestly good for them. But I do think it's very funny how much they like really worked that into the plot line of like, y'all wanted to be alone so you could bang. And once again, I have not read Ruin and Rising for 9 years, but if I remember correctly, they get it on in like an abandoned church or something on the dusty floor. So I'm glad that they at least upgraded to a bed. You know, I think they deserved it at that point. And speaking of chemistry, I am forever Nikolina in a way that I was not expecting to be. In the book series, Nikolai and Alina are friends, and I'm glad that they did try to make that happen in this book, even though they were like, oh, Nikolai's actually in love with her, which, like, fine, it's a YA series, everyone has to be in love with the main character. First of all, Patrick Gibson is a freaking snack of a man. Oh my, he's a full-ass meal, good lord. This man. I need to calm down. Patrick and Jesse, Nikolai and Alina, they have the best chemistry out of anybody on this show. Like, you can tell that Jesse and Archie are close by the way that they act together. And Jesse and Ben have a really good dynamic. I don't think it's necessarily overtly sexual or romantic, but like, they got something going on there. But Nikolai and Alina, every time that they are in a conversation on camera together, they shine. In the chapel scene, when Alina gives back Nikolai the Lanslav Emerald, and so instead he's like, here, have my lucky compass, I was just sitting there like, are y'all gonna kiss? And in the final scene just before the coronation, when Nikolai and Alina are alone together, and he says something like, oh, there won't be any kissing unless you're thinking of me and not trying to forget him. I was like, oh my god, what? Y'all had better introduce Nikolai and Zoya real fast, because otherwise this is not gonna be book accurate. Nikolai and Zoya are together in the King of Scars duology, but it seems like by the end of this series, they haven't met. And I'm like, y'all were literally fighting in the fold, like 10 feet from one another. And then literally at the Darkling's funeral, you guys were like across the way. Like, just, how have you not met yet? Okay, I am now incredibly sweaty. My voice is already starting to go. I'm mostly done this coffee, and it's time to talk about my conspiracy theories. I do not have a tinfoil hat, but I will put on my golden black crown, because why the hell not? This is the point in the video where we're gonna go into my crackpot conspiracy theories over what is gonna happen in upcoming episodes, seasons, if there even is one. You know there's gonna be one. They set up way too much in the final episode for it to not happen. There was talk about a Six of Crows spinoff, but I don't think that's gonna happen because the Six of Crows story is so different than the Shadow and Bone story. It doesn't make sense for them to have their own spin-off because all that they're doing is heists. And how many heists can you do before your audience gets bored? Because it's just like a Monster of the Week TV show. And I'm just begging that the showrunners don't turn this into Riverdale. There's definitely enough material to make a third season, what with the King of Scars plotline coming into effect, with Nikolai and his shadow wound, and Alina being able to do the cut. Oh my god, I was not expecting that. I thought maybe she would do it with light and then it would shadow and it was like, oh. And her little smile at the end of the episode. I'm just saying, I would not be mad if Alina enters her Dark Lena girl boss phase. I would much rather the showrunners ran with the idea of, again, that like cyclical mirror moment of when the Darkling says to her, like once they get tired of proclaiming you a saint, like they're gonna come after you. So foreshadowing, question mark? I don't know if that's actually gonna happen because Ben Barnes is in fact too sexy to keep dead, so I'm sure he's gonna make a reappearance even in like a dream sequence or something. But this is where the crackpot theory comes in. Maybe instead of reinventing the Darkling, they're just gonna make Alina the new Dark Lena and have Nikolai have to fight her, which again, friends to enemies, I think would add so much tension, especially if we're going to be thinking of the cycle of the Darkling and how Alina has all of these Grisha on her side, but then like, whose side are we fighting for? Are we really the good guys? Like that could make so much good tension and conflict. And up till now in this series, I didn't mind that we skipped over basically the entire Ice Palace heist of the first Six of Crows book. And in this season, we basically did all of Crooked Kingdom, which is very weird. I didn't dislike it. I actually quite liked how the showrunners like made the crows, but at the same time, this is now the crossroads of things that are gonna get real freaking weird. In the end of episode 8, we introduce Judah Parem, which is a threat that is after the end of Ruin and Rising. Judah Parem is the thing that makes the Ice Palace heist the Ice Palace heist, which means season 3 or 4 of Shadow and Bone, we're going to the Ice Palace. However, it's gonna be really difficult making the Ice Palace heist fit in with the King of Scars plotline because we need to get Inej's backstory. We don't really have very much on her. We know from the series that her family were taken by slavers and that she was once indebted to the menagerie. But if we know that she's on a ship at the end of season 2, that means that either they're gonna have to bring her back because literally the entire reason that they get into the Ice Palace is through Inej pretending to be back in the menagerie and then being traumatized by Tanta Helene being there, but Tanta Helene is dead, and if Inej is off somewhere, I don't know how they're gonna do that. Also in that last episode, we have Tolia looking a little too close at Inej, and I'm wondering if they're going to pull a love triangle between Kaz and Inej and Tolia. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Also, Matthias is still in prison. So we need to break Matthias out before we can do the Ice Palace heist. Or we do the Ice Palace heist without him. And actually one of the opening sequences when they show the title, there's 5 crows on a line and then there's 1 crow that's inside the house that's pecking at the window trying to get out. And I'm like, I see what you did there. So you foreshadowed 5 of crows, but not 6 of crows. And if they're going to make it 6 of crows, that means they have to do the Ice Palace plotline. Everyone's hot. It's the Ice Palace hotline. Plus, if we're going to lean into the King of Scars plotline, Nina is a very different character in Six of Crows than she is in King of Scars. Because if we have to break into the Ice Palace and we don't have Matthias, does this mean we are going to see or meet or do a love triangle with Hane? And another person that I'm predicting we're going to get major backstory for is Wylan, because Wylan Van Eck does not exist yet to the Shadow and Bone audience. We got it a little bit, because in that one episode he plays the piano so beautifully, and he lets slip that he had a tutor, and we know that he can't read. So that is a big plot line of Crooked Kingdom. So will Wylan's father be the next big bad after Pekka Rollins? Like, we know Pekka Rollins, and therefore Matthias, is not, like, going anywhere yet. But if we need a closer-to-home villain, is that going to be him? Because we didn't get the end with the Tidemakers from Crooked Kingdom. And damn, I love that scene so much. And Wyland freaking gives that smackdown of being like, actually, I do know what this document says. Fuck you, Dad. And I want that scene so badly. Oh, and finally, I think that we're going to see David and Genya again. First of all, I love Genya. That actress, what's her name? Daisy Head or Daisy Heed. Phenomenal actress. Oh my god, I cried so hard literally whenever she was on screen. I know it doesn't end well for them, but I do think that we are going to see David again because Alexa, play Nobody No Crime. I'm interested now to see how they're going to retroactively retcon the plots together, or if they're just gonna fully give up and move on. But I don't think they would because of the way that they foreshadowed Jurda Prem and Fjerda and also Matthias, you know, and. So I'm not worried, but I am concerned. Then again, it's been confirmed that Lee is writing a third Six of Crows book. So I wonder if something's gonna go on there. I wonder if it's going to release kind of alongside the next season. But then also, if you didn't see, she recently signed an 8-figure deal with Macmillan to write literally whatever the fuck she wants. So I wonder if we're going to get more books set in the Grishaverse and if those are going to play into the TV show or vice versa. But then again, two big players, Mal and Nikolai, are not Grisha. So in the next season, if we get the Jurda Parem plotline, like, who's gonna be using it? Will Alina even use it? She never ever uses it, so I don't think that she would use it. She's already so powerful with her 3 amplifiers. Would she give it to her Grisha? Probably not. So if the Fjerdan Grisha are using it, maybe it'll be another, like, internal sacrifice moment of, like, yes, this is highly addictive and very bad for you, but also we need to win a war. So, inner turmoil. But if we fully separate any ideas for new books out of what the script writers are maybe currently working on, I think in the 3rd season, we're going to get backstory for Inej and Wylan. We're gonna get the Ice Palace heist. We're gonna likely get Matthias's death. We're going to get Zoya and Nikolai doing something. And I think we're going to get a full corruption of Alina as the Sun Summoner. So yeah, there are all of my thoughts, my opinions, my full range of emotions, and some crackpot theories for the next couple of seasons. If you've noticed anything fun or you have your own conspiracy theories for the Grishaverse, like, please leave them down below. I just want this to be like an unhinged comment section. I don't know which direction they're gonna go from here. And like, no matter where they go, I am on board, but I would also kind of like to know where the ship is going. If you want my shirt, I will leave the link to it down below. It's not affiliated, but I really love this shop and the owner is so cool. Also, I'm a little salty over the fact that I do have the TV cover for Shadow and Bone, but I don't have the TV cover for Six of Crows, and I actually got sent both of them by Raincoast, but my ex-boyfriend stole Six of Crows from me. I lent it to him, and then he never gave it back after we broke up, so I did have to sacrifice the crows for my mental well-being. It was a bad relationship though, so I do think Kaz would understand. You know where to click to like the video, and should you wish, follow. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!